Hi, I'm Stacy Dawn with the Clear Lake Area Chamber of Commerce, and we're really excited to try something new this year. We are having our school board forums virtually. There wasn't a good date to get all four candidates together, but all have graciously offered to come into the chamber and do these candidate interviews. And first off, we have Talitha Allen with us today. Before Talitha introduces herself, I'd like to also welcome Troyce Fisher, Dr. Troyce Fisher. She's going to share a little bit about why she's involved in our candidate interviews today.
Thank you, Stacy. It's an honor to be here. Having been in education for 43 years, most of it in administration at the regional and state level, I've been privileged to work with hundreds of school board members, and I see the important role that they play. Being a Clear Lake resident, I'm particularly interested in, of course, our local issues, and I'm so pleased that we have qualified people wanting to take on this service. We're going to use the same questions basically for each candidate. And we've taken most of those questions from the Iowa Association of School Boards website, where they have suggested the appropriate kinds of questions to ask each candidate. So we'll begin with the obvious one. Please tell us who you are and what motivates you to run for the school board.
Sounds good. My name is Talitha Allen. I've been a resident of Clear Lake for about 14 years now. My husband and I moved up here based on our jobs. And I was talking a little bit earlier with some of you that I wasn't in love with Clear Lake at first, and I have fallen in love with Clear Lake. So we live here, obviously. We have two children that are in the Clear Lake School District, both of which are in the elementary school at the moment. One is about to go into middle school, and it's a little scary for me.
It'll be fun.
It will be fine. It will be. There's some good teachers over there too. So why I want to run for school board. I'm very passionate about my kids' education and therefore the education of other students. I also currently work at the school as a paraprofessional, and so I see a lot of things firsthand that a lot of people don't see and maybe don't understand. And I want to make sure that our teachers and staff are supported. I feel like when we have staff members that feel like they're bored, their community really supports them, that in turn then goes to our students. And that's that's why we're all here, is we want our students to have the best education. So I want to run for school board really to support our teachers and our staff.
Great.
That's great. And you mentioned that you're a paraprofessional. Can you share a little bit more about other school district activities that you've been involved with?
Yes. So yes, I have worked for the school district for about 5 years and done all that fun stuff as a para. I love my job. I love the kids I work with, and I love the teachers that I work with as well. Outside of the work piece, I have done a lot of volunteering. I have done lots of different fundraisers to provide meals for teachers and staff, whether that's during conference nights or during like teacher appreciation weeks. I have spent lots of hours decorating for music programs, and I have spent time asking teachers what they need help with. Sometimes it's as simple as staying in the school for a couple of hours, cutting out lamination, things like that. I try to help communicate with the community about what's going on at the school, and just getting the word out about, if there's, I don't know, what's for lunch or things like that. So I try to be very active in that. And I'm also part of the strategic planning committee that is in our district. We actually have a meeting for that this evening, so we'll get to talk more about that. And then most recently, another mother and I have started the Clear Creek Parent-Teacher Organization, which is really focused on trying to help our teachers have some more support around them, and then also doing fun things for our students. For example, we provided over 600 popsicles on the first couple of days of school that were so hot. So the kids got to have that. We've been able to provide snacks and food for the teachers when they have meetings or during conferences. We helped clean the playground up before school. So I have been very involved in general at the school, and I intend to continue that whether I'm on the school board or not.
You mentioned being involved in strategic planning.
Mm-hmm.
So what current issues in public education do you see as the most significant?
Right now, I think one of the big things with public education is that there are people that are making decisions for the education people that don't know about education. So some of the recent things that Iowa has passed has impacted and will continue to impact our education. And it seems like there were some lawmakers that maybe didn't consider all of those pieces when they were implementing those. Um, More close to home, I think that we have some infrastructure pieces that we need to be looking at. Um, our facility in Clear Creek is the elementary school is bursting right now with students, which is fantastic, but we need room. And so that's something that we need to be keeping an eye on. I also think that our auditorium would be awesome to have a facelift. I think that would be a great thing for our not only the school district, but also our community to have that as well.
You mentioned legislation at the state level that might be impacting. Would you like to expand on that anymore with, that everybody's aware about the ESAs and about
Yes,
Senate File 496? And I'm assuming that's part of what you're referring to.
it is.
Do you
Yes.
want to add anything into that?
Well, in terms of like the book banning and things like that,
Mhm.
I know that's been a hot button issue.
Mhm.
My opinion is that books should not be banned. I do think that there some books shouldn't be allowed at certain grade levels. A kindergartner probably shouldn't be reading some of the things that a 12th grader should be. But I really think that parents need to be taking a role in that the child's education. If a parent is, reading through a curriculum item their curriculum, and they say, "This isn't something I want my child to be reading or dealing with," I think they need to talk to the teacher directly and work with the teacher. I don't think that should be a blanket, "Oh, we're not going to do this anymore," across the whole district. I also really appreciate that the school board implemented, I think it was last month, a board that's going to come together and read books that are challenged and things like that. So they have a really diverse group of people that's going to have an opportunity to read those things. And I'm very supportive of that. In terms of vouchers or the ESAs, I disagree with vouchers. I think that they are taking public money that was intended for public education and bettering the lives of our community members, and they're putting that into the hands of private people. And I don't agree with that.
Mhm. So when you think about getting on the balcony of schools and their purpose, what do you think schools can do to best prepare kids for success in the future?
Well, first of all, I think Clear Lake does a really phenomenal job. One of the big things that from my past, I was always told you have to go to college, you have to do these things. And I never really considered any other option. And I love that Clear Lake has given our students options. We try and talk about the trades and showing kids this is what this looks like, and giving them plenty of opportunities to dive into different groups. Obviously, they can take AP classes and college courses at NIAC. I think those are wonderful opportunities as well. So my goal is to make sure that we're staying that course and keeping that broad range of things for students to have those different opportunities so they can find out what they really want to do and not feel like they're boxed into
Yeah.
what somebody else thinks they need to be doing.
Yeah, and workforce readiness is a huge issue for our community and making sure that we have, a workforce who's ready to take on the challenges.
Mm-hmm.
They've done a great job with the apprenticeship programs and the opportunities at the high school. What are some ideas that maybe you have to continue to build on what they've already started and work towards more opportunities for our kids and discovering what it is that they truly want to do with their lives?
I think that's a great question. And one of the things that I would want to do as a school board member would be to actually go and talk more to students and get what they want to do. Um, Obviously, there might not be some of the opportunities. For example, when I was in high school, I wanted to be a zookeeper. There's not maybe a lot of opportunities for that here in Clear Lake to shadow, but there's opportunities to talk to people. Technology is a wonderful thing. So being able to expand on that. But I really think that it would require me to do some research with our kids. And I'm willing to do that. I don't just want to make a blanket statement and, some kids are like, well, that's not really what we want.
So you mentioned that, what you might do as a board member in that context. What do you think are the major responsibilities for a school board member?
In my opinion, the first one is to observe, and the second one is to listen. I think that a lot of times we have people that kind of sit back and they attend meetings and that's all they do. I don't think that's good enough. I really feel strongly about being in the schools and trying to identify what's the next step. Unfortunately, if I were to become a board member, I would have to step down from my role as a para at school. The positive piece of that is that it would give me an opportunity to spend time in the schools more, and not just at an elementary school level, but also go to the middle school and the high school. And my intention would be to do some of that observation and listening to people and asking the questions from students and teachers. What do you want? How can the school board help support you better?
So one of the key responsibility of the school board is to evaluate the superintendent.
Mm-hmm.
So what characteristics do you believe you most value in a superintendent and his or her role in the community?
That's also a good question. I think that a superintendent has a balancing act, and I don't think it's an easy role. The more and more that I talk to our current superintendent, the less and less I'm interested in having that kind of a role. But I think it's very important that they are empathetic to their employees. I think that it's very important that they understand the financial beast that is the school. I think Mr. G currently does a fantastic job of trying to explain that to those of us who don't deal with the finances. So those are two pieces that are important to me. But I really think that a superintendent needs to be listening to people. They need to be involved. They need to create those relationships, not just with the district either. It's about the whole community. And I know that, again, is a balancing act, but I want to make sure that our superintendent currently and the next one is really focused on building relationships with the people, talking to them, again, finding out what they are interested in, what they need, and then going from there.
Have you had a chance to dig into the academic achievement scores that were recently released by the state? Clear Lake had commendable for most of them. Have you dug into it anymore? And if so, what did you see?
I read through really quickly.
Yeah.
I didn't have a chance to really dig in too much. I was happy with what I saw, and it, from what I am remembering, we were above average for the most part. So I think that's a great thing.
Yeah,
And I know when we've been,
No,
when
go
we've been
ahead.
at, I've gone to several school board meetings as well, and they've brought up, different charts and things like that. And it's really cool to see the trends of Clear Lake students. It's almost always positive, and it's almost always above average for the state. So I think that's great.
Yeah, I mean, you can see that in the open enrollment numbers, the number of kids
Mhm.
who want to come to our school district who don't live in our district. Maybe at some of the earlier elementary grades, the kids who were impacted by the pandemic during some of those really critical learning years, there might be some gaps in terms of reading and other key areas of education. What are your thoughts or ideas on how to close those gaps and get those kids where they need to be to continue to be successful as they go through the grade levels?
Mm-hmm. The number one thing that I've experienced directly, and those are the grade levels that I work with, the number one thing that I've seen have the biggest impact is when they have somebody to work with. When you build that relationship with a kiddo and you can sit down and you can work through, what are these letters? What sounds do they make? And they make those connections with you, and you start to get excited and they get excited. It's an amazing feeling. Like, it's a really cool thing. So to answer your question specifically, I really think that we need more volunteers to be in the school. I think that in order to help kiddos understand, you know, what they're missing with those pieces, we need people, adults, that will be willing to go and help. I think that there's been a lot of, there's been high school students that come in and do mentoring with a lot of the kids in the elementary school, and that is an amazing program. I love seeing that. and they do a lot of the social pieces with our elementary kids. And I think that's important as well, because some of them have missed out on some of the social pieces from the pandemic and all of that too.
You know, you have a bird's eye view for this. And I suppose you've thought of this question a lot. When you think about the school's role, not only intellectually, academically, but social, emotionally, and so on, what do you think the school's role is in kind of counteracting some of societal's ills or
Sure.
whatever?
Well, I will be really honest with you. 5 years ago, before I started working at the school, I would have said that it's not the school's role. But now that I work at the school and I have seen the impact that our teachers and our staff and our office people, and I mean, just across the board, the impact that they have on the student, I think it is part of the school's role. I think people don't understand what the school does. You know, we make sure that the kids have food. There are kids that come to school in our district that are hungry, and we make sure that they have food. We have shower facilities that kids use. We have all sorts of different things that, not getting into too many details, but we're really helping with those kind of things, just helping their families out because maybe they just don't have the time, or they can't for whatever reason. I know it's been a big impact too, with as our society has changed. Both parents are generally working, and there are things that happen with our kids that parents aren't seeing necessarily, and so a lot of that is coming to the school, and the school is trying to help those kids so that they can be successful.
We're bumping up against our 15-minute
Okay.
time limit. This goes fast,
Yeah,
right?
it really does.
I'm wondering if there's a question you wish we had asked that we hadn't, or something you thought about that you wanted to make sure the audience knew about your values in terms of why you're running, or anything like that, kind of as a wrap up for
Sure.
this.
I think there's not any specific question. I will say that my slogan for running is all in with Allen, and I truly believe that I am all in for our school. And as I mentioned before, like, my viewpoint of Clear Lake has changed in the past few years. My viewpoint on education is that I want to help. I want to be here for our students. And I think the number one way that we as a community can be here for our students is by being here for our staff. Our staff needs to be supported. They need to be cared for, and then they will help take care of our students.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you. We really
absolutely.
appreciate your time today. What a great conversation. And I just encourage everybody to make time on Tuesday, if not beforehand, to go and vote in this important election, not only for our school, but for our community. So thank you very much.
Thank you.